the predatory nature of monetization practices implemented by the gaming industry should be self-evident at this point. There's been no shortage of reports about gamers going into debt, studies linking gaming and gambling disorders, and even patents with methods for multiplayer games to influence players towards making in-game purchases. The psychological roots of modern monetization can probably be traced back to the infamous Skinner box experiment, a subject the industry has been discussing openly for decades now. But they've since evolved their understanding of player psychology, expanding their arsenal to include concepts such as anchoring, social proof, and loss aversion and endowment effect, all in search of that big spending whale, as TribeFlame's CEO so cynically explains in his Let's Go Whaling presentation.
So the tricks on how to monetize a game well, some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later.
The gaming industry is objectively predatory. It admits to these practices publicly. If you're defending them without being paid for it, then you may not be a whale, but they've already hooked you in anyway. And every time this topic is brought up before the public arena, the usual suspects are called upon the stand: EA, 2K, Activision. This is understandable not only because they are some of the biggest offenders, but also because their audience has the ability to make their voices heard. But what about those who can't speak up for themselves? What about Roblox? Roblox is a global platform that allows its users to create and share games, or to just play other users' creations. But should any sane, grown-up gamer endeavor to browse through their content, they'd soon realize these games are nothing more than storefronts using gameplay as a snare. Take Adopt Me, for instance, one of its most popular games, which had 450,000 concurrent users at the moment I decided to check that out. In it, following the best or worst freemium practices, your starter items are free of charge, but from that point onward, everything, and I do mean everything, is monetized. For an outsider, the first contact with this game can be slightly disorienting and utterly perplexing. There's a bombardment of brightly colored offers and calls to action. Every step taken feels like being dragged toward a financial gaping maw, hidden beneath the thin veneer of a kid-friendly NPC. To me, it looked as if Kafka and Lovecraft's child had been raised by Mickey Mouse. In our circles, peddling microtransactions to children is reasonably seen as immoral. Case in point, EA was recently under fire for placing FIFA Ultimate Team ads on toy magazines. And that's what makes Roblox's blend of greediness so much more insidious. By exclusively targeting an audience of children, they managed to fly under the radar, despite being more aggressive with their monetization tactics than anything else I'd seen before, the impact of which won't be sufficiently apparent for years to come, giving the industry enough time to take full advantage of its effects. The immediate goal of Roblox, and others like it, is to make a profit, plain and simple. But in the long run, systems like this function as an indoctrination machine. A recent study analyzed the play history of the 463 most played Steam desktop games, and The staggering result is that exposure to loot boxes and cosmetic microtransactions increased from 4 to 71%, and from 8 to 85% respectively, between 2010 and 2019. We are vocal against microtransactions because we still remember a world where they didn't exist. But that world is long gone by now. The next generation of gamers shall have no such privilege. Here, we can use the industry's own terminology to expand upon this concept. The aforementioned anchoring, from Let's Go Whaling. When people don't know the price of things, the first suggested number will become their anchor. That's why a good wine list in a restaurant starts off with a premium bottle costing hundreds of dollars. When you get to the bottles for merely $50, they will feel affordable. To use this trick, start off by suggesting to players that they buy something really expensive, expecting them to turn it down. Then, offer a good discount. The likes of Roblox and Fortnite are this generation's anchor. Once they grow up, they'll be more amenable to whatever financial whims the industry pushes upon them, as long as they're marginally less egregious than the hyper-monetized environments they were raised in. This also means that, in theory, the industry doesn't even have to win the battles we're fighting right now in order to win the war. They'd just have to hunker down and wait for the next generation to undo whatever victories we may have achieved. To push back against this trend, raising awareness is critical. We can't count on the industry to do this, though. They'll just keep spewing the same limp and insincere apologies they always have, and continue doing business as usual. And some of the organizations that are supposed to keep them in check are, functionally, just extensions of the industry itself. For example, if you Google Roblox ESRB, the first result is an article titled "What Parents Need to Know About Roblox," written by ESRB's president herself, that reads more like an ad than a warning. So, it's up to gamers to defend the games they love. In this regard, Battlefront 2 can offer two very important lessons. The first is that our opinions have power, as long as they're voiced together. In the wake of its disastrous launch, the ensuing public backlash prompted EA's stock to drop a record $3.1 billion. This, in turn, forced the company to remove microtransactions from the game and, arguably, even rush a single-player Star Wars game as a peace offering, marketed as a direct response to the Battlefront fiasco. No microtransactions, no loot boxes, and no, we won't be adding them. But they did, in fact, add microtransactions back into Battlefront 2. And that right there is the second lesson. Once we disband, all progress is lost. A few months after launch, EA announced the return of microtransactions, and their stocks bounced back up. Fast forward to 2020, their market value and live services revenue had both reached new heights, and the game itself seems to have been redeemed in the eyes of the public. It still has microtransactions, but they're not as bad as before, so it's okay, I guess. Doesn't it sound like anchoring all over again? The takeaway is that we need to band together and stick together. But there are bubbles for sports and FPS players, communities divided among console lines, brand loyalists, and too often mobile gamers are dismissed and excluded from the conversation. Gamers need to defend gaming as a whole if we hope to push any kind of meaningful, lasting change. And finally, pivoting back to Roblox. This could be the perfect time to steer some backlash against them as well. The company has decided to go public, looking to raise capital from outside investors. Their direct public offering is rumored to go live in February, and some bad PR could hit them where it hurts the most, the stock market. And who knows, Battlefront sparked a slew of legislation revisions. Maybe putting the spotlight on Roblox could have a similar effect. But no one can do it alone, so I urge you to reach out to anybody with even a smidgen of public influence. YouTubers and streamers, reporters, Reddit communities, and bring this matter to their attention. Get them to make some noise. Help defend the games you love.